Good morning, everybody. How we doing? Thanks for joining in. Another monthly sales meeting. We're gonna kind of get rolling here, that kind of stuff. So, no big deal. No, it's all good. It's all good.
We're gonna talk about showings. I'm showing her house and she's showing mine.
That's awesome. You're showing each other's listing. That's great. Very good, very good. And you have the nicest husband. Every time I come in, there's like words of encouragement on my desk from your husband. It's really, really sweet.
I benefit from that in my life. He is amazing.
Yeah. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get started and start talking about what's going on, the comings, the goings, things happening in the real estate world. So my name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here, and this is our monthly sales meeting. Come on, Sharon, come on, step on up, girl. I'm gonna hit you up in a second. So I want to start off talking about what's happening in relation to the GAR settlement, the NAR settlement, as well as where we're at kind of on mid-year changes. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over mid-year changes. The mid-year changes took effect on the 1st of this month, and we've covered that in several sales meetings, that kind of stuff. But the 5 biggies here, just so we're all on the same page, we have to have a written buyer's agreement prior to showing any property. Total compensation must be listed and must be specific amount. Can't be just random amounts. It can't be open-ended, that kind of stuff. No realtor MLSs can show what buyer co-op is. Doesn't mean they can't show compensation. I'm going to show that in a second. And all brokerage agreements must state that commissions are not set by state law. But now we also have a new phrase that says, however, that doesn't mean that we have to negotiate our commissions, which I really do strongly agree with here. So when it comes to the mid-year changes here, GAR's rewritten them, and all of them are based around compensation. Matter of fact, they even changed the word from commission to compensation throughout the entire thing. Nothing in any of these agreements, nothing in any of the documents requires you to cut your commission, to reduce your commission. We all work really hard for what we do. These are the services we provide. These are the fees I charge. That doesn't change at all. And honestly, it's always been negotiable, right? There's never been any kind of set fees. A lot of times the better, more experienced agent will charge more because they bring a lot of value for the clients. So all the NAR settlement stuff goes into effect on the 17th. All the GAR mid-year changes came out on the 1st. Now, the ones that really have the biggest impact on us right here. So we have, F-116, agreeing to work with a buyer as a customer. And the reason that one has come up is because are we going to be seeing a lot of unrepresented buyers as a listing agent? That's a new conversation.
And stuff.
Yeah, but that's a new conversation that we have to start having as a listing agent now. If you take a listing and it has 0 buyer's agent co-op, and you end up are you ready to represent that buyer as a customer? And then what about all the work that goes along with that, as well as all the liability? And then we have F-258, F-259. F-258 is the pre-showing. That's when you, prior to actually showing your property, you send over the commission agreement. F-259 is after you've shown the property. It just states who pays and that kind of stuff. We also have the same thing we had before with a few of the small changes, which is F-255, which is the instructions to the closing attorney. Those 3, GAR is really pushing those pretty hot and heavy. However, what we're really feeling in looking at over the contracts and really starting to, become a lot more comfortable, what we're really looking at is on your purchase and sale, putting in Special SIP 620 on your purchase and sale. That way everybody knows who's paying. It supersedes everything. It makes everything incredibly clear. One thing that was the goal, one of the goals of this whole thing was to increase transparency. And so with Special SIP 620, which basically says buyer requests seller to pay this amount in compensation for their agent kind of thing. And I think that's just a good way to be. We can use 258, 259, or 255. It's just one of those, if it's really clear in the contract and everybody knows, then that's where our greatest protections are. And then some new updates to the seller exclusive brokerage engagement agreement and buyer brokerage agreement. We have CE classes on this coming out every single week over the next month, right? So there's a class tomorrow over in Conyers. We have these classes coming up constantly, nonstop. So please come in and get the information you need. Several of these, we've been doing them online. I think we're gonna do a couple others that for online in case you can't make those classes in person. We just want to make sure that you're prepared for this. The changes really are not as big. The changes that are there are big, but overall, the scope of change is not that drastic, right? So it all deals with commission, who's paying who, who's paying what. We do have to be very specific about which boxes we check and those kind of things, because there are some new things to look at on here. But this is not like, we don't need to go re-sign engagement agreements. We don't need to get re-sign anything else. The new contracts are already in place, you know, in your docs. Now, when it comes to Georgia MLS has joined the settlement. And so because they opted into the settlement agreement, they are going to be taking out the commission fields. They are going to be adding in a compensation field. Now, that compensation could be anything along the lines of total closing. It could be closing costs, could be commission, could be a total of what the seller is offering on there. And that's probably one of the biggest changes in there for Georgia MLS. You know, so Georgia MLS, we are going to see some changes in, you know, do we know exactly how that's going to look as far as like, will everyone just start to understand that this is really compensation, or are they, you know, we're going to have to do a lot of communication as listing agents. One of the big changes for us here is how are you communicating what you're offering on your properties? You know, because if your main method is Georgia MLS, what are we doing now? You know, can we put it into ShowingTime? Can we put it into your website? Can we put it onto flyers? We can do all those kind of things. We just can't upload that into Georgia MLS anymore. So.
As we go, or just hold.
Go ahead.
So when we submit an offer, I mean, are we automatically including the commission instruction sheet with the offer? Because I notice now the seller is signing that document. Repeat the question.
Okay, so.
In the offer, include the commission instruction, because maybe it is not.
You can include the commission instruction on, you know, as far as like, whether it's F-258 or F-259. The only thing I don't like about that, and what scares us about that, is because on most of our amendments, they attach themselves to the contract.
Right.
On these, they don't. And so theoretically, a seller could sign your purchase and sale and not sign this amendment. And if you accept it, then you just accepted to work for no money. That's why we really find that using Special SIP 620 along with the purchase and sale is a safer way to be.
Okay, that answers the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Amy?
Alan, I have a question about that, because like the pre-show and compensation agreement really deals with a seller's option to pay compensation when our compensations come from listing agents out from the broker. So could that not just be listed as a bonus,
No.
like an incentive?
Now, well, in part because of the way the new listing agreement is now, that now, you know, the whole idea was they wanted to decouple commissions from realtor to realtor. So now we still have that option. So a seller can say, let's just say, I'm going to pay you 6 bananas and you're going to share 3 bananas. Or I'm going to pay you 3 bananas and I'm going to pay the buyer's agent 3 bananas. You have both of those options in the listing agreement now.
Well, actually, the first one's not an option for the seller. If they're paying me 6 bananas, it's my choice to give 3.
No, it isn't.
I mean, it's my choice, it's my commission, it doesn't belong to the seller
No,
anymore.
the way it is written into the contracts, that is not the agent's right to do that. The seller has the right, not the agent.
Exclusive listing agreement.
Yep.
Yeah, and it has to be defined at the listing agreement.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. So, I know you don't like it, but that's how it,
Well,
yeah.
I have a question about that too. Why would a NAR settlement impact realtors? Why would we have to comply with realtor, like a lawsuit?
Okay, well, overall, like in Georgia, well, first of all, we aren't nearly as impacted as a lot of other states are.
That's true.
Because there's a lot of states that didn't have buyer brokerage agreements at all. There's a lot of other states that also had where if you offered a listing, you were forced, in Missouri, where the commission was, I mean, where the lawsuit happened, you were forced to pay a buyer's agent regardless. Like, there was no way not paying a buyer's agent. So all these things came out through the lawsuit, and then all the company, and then all these big brokerages were sued, and NAR was sued. And this is, the bottom line is that it sets a lot of policy for a lot of different things, because so many of our MLSs are tied to a local board. Georgia MLS is tied to the DeKalb Board of Realtors. A lot of our smaller MLSs around the state are as well. FMLS is not. So, it's one of those things that, and honestly, not all these changes are really, really bad. One of the things that I like the most about this is that we're gonna start getting buyer agreements in advance.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those, when you have a buyer that's already signed a buyer brokerage agreement, that's a really solid buyer. If you're just showing property to people and you don't have any kind of agreement, you haven't sat down and explained your value and who's gonna pay and the whole 9 yards, those are folks that tend not to close. Right? So I like the fact that we're gonna be treating our buyers the way we have for our sellers for years. So Georgia MLS, it's gonna be a little bit trickier. Now FMLS is not board owned. FMLS has already said, look, we want transparency. And so they are gonna be adding in a compensation field, but they're still keeping the commissions field as well.
Oh.
So if you do list your property in FMLS, you will be able to do that, at least as of right now. We still have, roughly a month before the NAR settlement changes go into effect, but those are going into effect, right? So, those are kind of the big changes. And so as a listing agent, we have to be ready to handle that. The other thing that we have to be ready for is answering our phones, because we're going to get, as listing agents, you're going to be getting a lot more phone calls. Even before we saw, these changes go through in the contracts themselves, just because of so many news and that kind of stuff, a lot of people have been talking about, do I have to pay a buyer's agent commission? Do I need to do this? Can I not pay? And yeah, but we've been able to do that in Georgia forever. It was not smart for you. And especially when I show you the data where we're going at right now, it's incredibly not smart for our sellers not to be offering some sort of compensation for buyers to bring their agents. I'm sorry, let's do that the other way around, for agents to bring their buyers to them. So, all right, I want to move over and talk about, there is a transaction fee adjustment that's coming out. We've sent out an email, we sent out a text message, it's going on the newsletter. I just wanted to let you know that it is coming out. We haven't raised our fees in 17 years. And so, I hate that we jumped it up, but it is going, the transaction fees are going to $475. Well, it's $450 plus $25. So I just want to be really, really clear what that is. So this is done, this is a company-wide thing. And so this all kind of handed out while we were out on vacation. So I just want to make sure no one's caught off guard. It goes into effect next month. We have Tom Ferry coming up. We're going to be putting out Max One Rock / Tom Ferry, and you can go and sign up for all of our different offices. Tom Ferry should be a really, really great event this year. And so we do it, it's going to go ahead and put it in your calendars now, please, 27th, 28th, 29th. That says Dallas, but really it's going to be in all of our offices. We're doing it just like we have in all the other years. There is a ton of really, really great information at these. Please consider if you can fit it into your schedule coming in, because some of the content is just phenomenal. In addition, every day you come, you will be getting 6 hours of CE credit. Thanks for that. So, we need to start talking a little bit about what's happening in our market here. 3 in 5 Americans believe that the U.S. is in an economic recession. Are we in a recession?
We have a lot of inflation.
Yeah.
Well, but inflation's down, running 2.5 right now. So it's been, but the thing is that we're dealing with what our clients and our friends feel like and what's really kind of the reality. And so right now there's a big belief that that we are in a recession, and that from that comes, do you think that there's going to be a crash in the housing market? You guys think there's a crash coming?
No.
I don't see a crash coming either, but right now, 44% of the folks in our market think a crash is coming.
They've been saying it for forever.
Well, I mean, honestly, you're not wrong, right? Like we were hearing this pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
We definitely heard it during COVID, then we heard it during the recovery of COVID. And so it's one of those, and I'm gonna show you some data points on why we don't think that's happening. And at the same time, we also have, right now, 32% of buyers think that the only way that they can afford a home is for the market to crash. And honestly, no one wants to buy in a market crash, right? Do you really want to buy when property values are going down? No, who wants to buy an asset and then think, you know what, I bet this is going to be worth less tomorrow, so let's buy today, right? And so but there is a lot of misconceptions out there with our folks out there in the marketplace. And so one advantage we have going for us here in Georgia is 5 major cities that had the greatest year-over-year population gain. Atlanta is number 1. So we have a very positive inflow, and we'll be glad to share all these slides with you too, if you want to have them. So, but we have a very positive inflow, the biggest inflow of people moving to Atlanta of any major city. So that's really good, right? Because if more people to buy houses, more people that need jobs, all that kind of goes into effect. One other thing is that seriously, delinquency rates, both for regular homes as well as for ARMs. Y'all remember, like we've heard how, y'all remember 2007, 2008, even 2006. Everybody in the world went out, got an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage, got LIBOR loans, all that kind of stuff. Our delinquency rates are at some of the historically lowest points that we've ever seen. So we're nowhere near in there. In addition, so many of our folks own their homes, like almost 40% of homeowners own their home outright with no mortgage at all.
So that supports no crash coming.
Yeah.
When you have numbers like that.
Yeah.
Wow. I have a quick question about the cities that on this first slide.
Uh-huh.
I assume that includes metro areas because all those cities have large metros, or is that just basically when they say Atlanta, they're saying Atlanta?
They're saying the Atlanta MSA.
Okay.
They asked if you would repeat the question.
Oh, okay, sorry, repeat the question. Is that representing the whole MSA? Yes. Like for us, it's what, 13 counties here?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
good news.
All right, so right now, what's happening with our pricing? So the top number or the top graph is from Georgia MLS, the bottom graph is from FMLS. I like to pull data from both MLSs, and you can see that overall average sale price is up 5% in Georgia MLS, up 3.5% in FMLS. So are we seeing prices fall?
No.
But we are seeing them moderate. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that, but no. And then this is kind of what the map looks like as far as like what's happened with property values over the past several years. And so what do you notice about Georgia? What color are we?
Green.
Pretty solidly green. Now, but you'll see where Oregon, Washington, California, even parts of Texas, they're in red. Those make national headlines. And and people will hear those kind of things. But we are, large parts of Georgia have more than a 10% increase still. Now, that's too much. We don't want it to be that high because that's going to lead us towards a bubble. We have been seeing a lot of rising inventory. And so, and I'm going to show you the rising inventory. However, if you look at even though we're seeing inventory rise, you can see that, 2 years ago, we were at 2.3 months of standing inventory. Then a year ago, we were at 2.7. This year, we're at 3.1 months of standing inventory. So is it increasing? Yes, inventory. How about where we are compared to our national average for the last 20 years? We're nowhere near that. Right now, overall, total listings are up around, roughly 50%, 47%. But we're still down about 40% from where we were pre-COVID on just the number of listings. So it's hard to have a crash like that. So, when you say, like this is from Lawrence Young, the chief economist, he said there's simply not enough supply. The economics of supply and demand, if there's a shortage, you cannot have a crash. We don't have enough houses. We're short somewhere between 3 and 5 million houses in the US. Just on total, and then we have the largest millennial population that's all first-time buyer age right now. So just the basics of supply and demand mean that we're not looking at a crash coming anytime. You know, also, we have job gains, steady mortgage rates, and, you know, we have more inventory increasing. And so we are looking at prices moderating, and I do believe that we are gonna see prices flattening out. Just because of the rise in inventory. But we're not looking at a crash. Matter of fact, these are the forecasts for all the big names who, you know, all the big brain people, with national economists, that kind of stuff. I don't see us really running into the high fours, range kind of thing. Still, though, Freddie Mac has us running just about a point, half a point. I think that probably in Georgia, we're probably gonna be somewhere in the 2 to 3% property value appreciation range. And that's still, we're still positive appreciation, right? And that's a really healthy place for us to be. So, you know, this is from, adjunct professor of economics at the University of New York kind of things. And, you know, it's hard to forecast for the next 5 years out for sure, but we're looking at a very healthy market, right? And no matter what, we don't have enough properties to sell. We're not building enough. We have a population that's increasing, and so all those things go into effect on their forests. Now, one of the things that we hear a lot of is, you know, it's so much harder for our millennials to buy a home today than it was for the boomers or for any other population. Is that true? No.
I don't know, because student loan debt and stuff thrown into
Well,
there.
it is, but if you look at the average home price versus the average personal income, and you look at today versus, like if you look at our boomers, they had it much worse.
Okay, I guess perspective.
Yeah, and so I'm not saying, you know, and I'm not trying to be that person that's just like, you know, stop eating avocado toast kind of thing. I'm not going there. But by the same token, what we are seeing is that, especially when you're wanting to buy, if you're a first-time buyer, are you gonna have to sacrifice some things, or you have to give some things up? You remember when you bought your first home, did you give up on some things?
Yes.
Yeah, we went on vacation last, we
Went
you know,
further out before more.
yeah, we did all of those kind of things, and that's the same thing that's happening right now. And so it's very easy just to kind of point your fingers and be like, well, it's good. Look at the property values, what's going on here, what's going on there. Based on a percentage of income, it's not the toughest market we've ever been in. It's about how bad do you really want it? Right now, 13.7%, which is actually a fairly high percentage of folks that aren't owning a home can absolutely afford one right this second. Right now, Pittsburgh has the highest at 25%, but at 13, we're still very much in the blue. That's a very high normal number. Anything over 10% is considered very high. So we have a lot of folks that could buy if they just knew, if they just researched and looked at it. I mean, have you guys looked at what some of the rental rates are on some of these rental properties? Oh my goodness, you're like, that's way more than what your mortgage would run, kind of thing. So like it's a really, really big deal. So last fall, we had 3 and 4 buyers stop shopping because of what's going on in the market, right? A lot of folks said mortgage rates were too high, you know, that the home prices were high, that they were losing competing offers and couldn't find the right home. Are we in that same market that we were last year? What's happening with inventory right now?
Not great.
No, every inventory is up big time.
Really?
Yeah, the inventory is up really, really significant. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of people poised to buy right now that don't really look at what's going on. And when I show you the numbers, I really want you to look at it, because if you look, inventory of existing homes is improving. New construction is improving. We currently have less buyer competition because of it, and home prices are moderating. So like these are really, really positive signs. And that's even really without us talking about mortgages. We are going to talk about mortgages, so.
That kind of explains the days on market, in a little bit, yeah, they're on market a little bit longer now.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And I'll show you that in just a second too. Yeah, days on market are increasing right now. And that's something that we got to be preparing ourselves for. So, you know, this is from Daniel Hale. She's like, home shoppers who persist could see better conditions in the second half of the year. Where are we right now? Second half of the year, right. tend to be somewhat less competitive seasonally, might even more so since inventory is likely to reach 5-year highs. And we are looking at interest rates going down. So now, what happens when interest rates go down? More people jump in the market, we have multiple offers, home prices are gonna escalate even greater. What I'm saying is even though it sounds weird, and I'm not trying to be that person that's like, now's the right time to buy. But now's the right time to buy. I'm being real honest, right? I mean, and the data really backs me up on that heavily on here. Also, FHA is hot. If you aren't in love with FHA, you need to get FHA. So I asked Sharon to come in because I want to talk to you guys about FHA. Not everybody knows a lot about FHA. And I don't want to go super deep. Like we don't need to talk about like all the nuts and, I mean, all the extreme locations on here, but like Sharon, what's the minimum credit score we're gonna need for an FHA?
Ideally 620, but they'll go to 580.
They'll go to, but if they go to 580, they're gonna cost them. And,
Yes,
Yeah,
in rate
Yeah.
and points.
it's gonna cost them. So realistically, 620 is where they really do need to be. How much money are they gonna need down?
3.5%.
All right, except for, you've got a little trick up your sleeve when it comes to FHA right now, don't you?
We do. FHA has 100%, FHA financing. It's first and second mortgage. It's two payments. So you're gonna have the first, it's for your regular mortgage.
Yeah.
The second, Bernita and I'm working with somebody right now that's like Google people. The second mortgage is, it's actually your down payment.
Yeah.
That they're actually gifting you so that you can pay it off, because you do have to pay it off, you have to pay that.
Yeah.
And 99% of you have to pay that. So it doesn't matter. You have to do, at some point, you have to.
Yeah, if you're getting Georgia Dream, you're paying it back. All these are, like.
All these people, you're paying it back. So anyway, the second is at 2 points higher than the first. And it is a payment typically around 110 to 125, $130 a month, set on top of
Yeah.
what you're already paying at 2,400. I'm not like it's gonna kill somebody. So anyway, but you can pay that loan off at any point in time with no prepayment bill. So if you get a bonus at work, you win the lottery, you do whatever, you can pay that second off with no problem.
I mean, it just looks like we're going back to the old days when it used to be so many of our buyers originally bought with an FHA.
If
And
you,
then they refied into a conventional loan. It just feels kind of like that same kind of vibe. New construction, FHA is making up about 26%, about 22% of regular sales right now. Historically, FHA has been 15% of our market, so it's drastically increasing on FHA.
probably
So,
more than that, it's,
Yeah.
the rate's at least a point lower. You're looking at mortgage insurance at half a percent versus what you might be paying on the secondary market for a conventional loan. So to me, when you look at both of them together, if you're gonna pay mortgage insurance, then which one are you gonna take? The one with the lesser payment?
Yeah.
Because you got
and
a
then
better rate.
FHA is running almost a point lower on interest rates right now. So there's some really, really cool things with FHA. I don't want you, we're not trying to make you FHA experts, but let's face it, a lot of our clients come to us and they ask us some basic financial information. So we don't need to know what the top end and the back end and all these other kind of ends are in there kind of thing. You need to have someone that can help you with that, but like, understand that there was a time when it was this huge seller's market. They didn't even want to consider an FHA offer, right?
Mm-mm.
How about right now? Right now, look, right now, we're in a shifting market and at closing, it's all cash. It's all cash at
Yeah.
closing.
Mhm.
That's what the seller's getting.
Yep. So, 3.5% down if they don't do the DPA or 100% financing. We've even had one that got $120 back at closing
Mhm.
kind of thing. When they bought their home. So this is a very viable product that we're seeing a lot of folks take advantage of right now. Be considering about that. All right, now where are interest rates going? So this is the projections coming in for Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers Association, NAR. And it looks like we're heading into the mid sixes, maybe even low sixes by probably mid sixes later this year is really where we're looking to be. Now, we have a couple of wild cards up our sleeves in terms of what's happening with the election. And we're going to talk about the election and what happens historically with interest rates on an election. But, I'm just showing you right now, this is kind of like what we're looking at to be. I remember when there was a lot of folks who said, no one's ever gonna buy if the interest rates are over 5. Well, guess what? Life happens, right? You know, people have babies, people get divorced, folks, you know, like families upsize, downsize, life happens. And so 6.5, that's, we're back into where that's the normal range. And we have to make sure that we have our head wrapped around that too. And we do see it moving lower. And now, one other thing that we do see coming up here is when's the Federal Reserve gonna cut the federal funds rate? Because these aren't necessarily directly tied, but they are very indirectly tied. When the Fed cuts the federal funds rate, it always ends up giving us lower interest rates. And so, right now, what would cause them to do that? Well, if inflation starts moderating, which the numbers for last month came in at 2.5, 2.7, somewhere in that range. If jobs are getting a little bit worse, and that sounds like a weird thing that they want, but they want that the job market is not going on fire. Well, unemployment is up and the number of jobless claims are up. So all these things are leading a lot of folks, to look at a federal rate cut coming in September. And that's next month. And so we should be looking at a little bit of relief when it really does come to that. I feel that that's going to be coming out. Plus, I think they kind of have to do it in light of what's happening with elections and those kind of things as well. So we are shifting to a balanced market right now. And this is something that we're seeing a huge amount of pushback from a lot of our sellers. And I want to try and prepare you for having these conversations with your sellers, because a lot of our sellers still think it's a seller's market, and it is a seller's market still right now, but it also depends on price, depends on where you're at. Like it's not a seller's market at 800,000, it's a buyer's market at 800,000. It depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
Of course, it's still going to be very much location, but I just want to make sure that I'm preparing you and that you're preparing your sellers, because there's a lot of things going on. The first thing is that new listings are up 12% in Georgia MLS and 7% in FMLS. So we're seeing more new listings coming on the market right now than we've seen. How about active listings? Georgia MLS, 35% more total listings now this year than where we were last year. So that means your sellers are competing with 35% more homes. In Georgia MLS, FMLS, it's even more pronounced. In FMLS, total inventory is up 52% over last year. So we can't have more competition and not have that be an impact on our sellers. We need to make sure that they understand, and we need to be clear about what's going on, because all our sellers think is it's a seller's market. It's just a given. I'm gonna be able to do this. We can just go all cash. That's the only thing we want, and that's just not the reality of where we're at right now. FHA is the fastest growing loan product right now. New inventory is increasing. Total inventory is up half of where we were last year. These are very important data points to be able to share with your sellers about what's going on. And so you can see that, this is the same graph we looked at before, but you can see the month's inventory of homes for sale has been steadily increasing this year. So we're going to be seeing longer days on market, more inventory increasing in there. So, this is here in Georgia MLS and FMLS. And in Georgia MLS, we're currently running 3.7 months of standing inventory. And FMLS, we're running 3.6 months of standing inventory. We had been running in the 2s and the really low 3s. And so we're not going through this massive shift, but we are definitely heading towards a more balanced market. And that's causing an impact for our sellers right now. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of what's really happening out there. So you can, because it's, like just that amount of inventory coming into play here, that's a really, really big deal for our sellers. Now, where it starts getting really tricky is, what you're looking at on the gray bars down below, that's the number of homes that delisted over the past 7 years. What do you see about this year? These are homes that listed and never sold. Expired listings are coming back really big. And every one of those expired listings, what are they? overpriced, they're all overpriced, that's really what it's coming down to. You know, the sellers who say, you know, gosh, I just wanna try this price and see it out here. It's gonna cost them, that, like, it's gonna sit on the market right now. They're not gonna get the amount of showings, and they're gonna end up either taking it off the market or selling it for seriously less than what's really going on. The number of homes that are delisted right now are the highest that we've ever seen at this moment. At the same time, what's happening to our listings with price drops? What do you notice is going on the number of listings that we have that have price reduction? So the highest is, yeah, for this time of year, it's really, really high. I mean, incredibly high, because officially, we're still in the summer buying season. And so it's never been here during the summer buying season. And so that's a really, really impactful thing. When you look at how many properties are taking price reduction. At the same time as all this is happening, what percentage of homes do you think are actually going under contract in 2 weeks? 40% of our homes are going under contract in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's just a very interesting point where,
I was gonna ask, does that mean that they were priced way too high?
well, what we have, what we're really seeing is we have sellers. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, there's a lot of demand out there, and for good properties in good locations, in good condition and priced right, they're selling quickly. And for the properties that are coming out that are really high, where our sellers are saying, I just want to try this, I want to go here, this, you know, my friend told me this, I think I could get this, that kind of stuff. Those properties are sitting. They're having to take price reductions, and a lot of them are just expiring out.
So they're.
They're overpriced to begin with. They are. And I guess I don't want this to come across as being, oh no, the market, like we still have 40% of our listings are under contract in 2 weeks. So those properties that are coming out right from the get-go, they're getting a lot of really good activity. The properties that are coming out where the seller we just want to try this price, those are the ones that it's not working out.
So as the market is shifting to a balanced market, it's just gonna be more important to position yourself as a seller out in front of the competition.
Yep.
So that you can achieve that goal of the 40%, to be in the 40%.
Well, it's gonna be about pricing your property the right way. Yeah, which is not that different. It's just, we're heading back in the day, right? I mean, when y'all remember summer, so 2021, it didn't really matter. Like we put a sign in the yard, lockbox in the door, throw a price out there, they're fighting over it like rabid dogs. That's not the market that we're in. Our sellers don't have that luxury of, I mean, we had so much demand and so little supply during that time. And some folks still think it is. And so we got to make sure that our prices are right.
Or that seller from 3 years ago is listing now.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe
and so
thinking
you're
it's
like,
still the
I
same market.
overpaid, or I paid 10 grand over to get this, and now I'm
Yeah.
listing it.
Yeah, same kind of thing happened, so. Because at the same time, our pending sales are down roughly 10%. You know, 11% in Georgia MLS, 10% in FMLS. So our volume of sales are down, and this is normally our biggest time of the year. We're moving in really next month is our biggest time of the year, but we're already moving into that. And then closed sales also down 10% in Georgia MLS, down 20% in FMLS. So
Wow.
when you put all those factors together, it's a more challenging market for our sellers than our sellers have seen since COVID. Right? And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's not a bad market. It's just like we got to keep them real about it all, kind of thing.
Right.
Because even that being said, you know, median days on market, we're not terrible. It's a slight uptick. But all these things are shifting at one time. And that really is causing a lot of challenges for us moving forward. Overall, our days on market, 40 days in Georgia MLS and 33 in FMLS. What do you notice about days on market? Same as the others, right? They're all increasing. It's increasing every month this year has been higher than last year. Every year for the last 2-3 years in Georgia, I mean, FMLS, you can see days on market's increasing, market is increasing, competition's increasing. These are important things to make sure that we are communicating with our sellers on here. So also for the first time, now this is a national number, but for the first time since COVID, typical home is selling for less than list price. We have not had that happen since COVID. Right? And so this is another one where, but it makes sense when you look at how many properties are taking price reductions, how many, like for those folks who aren't really aware of what's going on. Overall, what we're seeing happening in pricing is just prices are moderating. We're not gonna see the double-digit property value appreciation that we've seen for the last several years, you know? We had 3 years there where we had 50% property value appreciation. And on one hand, that's very great for our sellers. But that's not realistic long term. You keep doing that, we form a bubble, and then that will cause a crash, right? And so I see us being much more, you know, closer into the 3% range. You know, right now, this from CoreLogic, and we're coming in right at about 5% property value appreciation right now. They're projecting 3% property value appreciation. I think that's pretty realistic. We're gonna be somewhere in that 1 to 3% property value appreciation range. So you know, if it's at 2%, you had a house that was worth $400,000 last year. Now it's gonna be worth $408,000 this year. Shouldn't be going down, that kind of stuff, but it's not gonna have these big appreciations. A lot of our sellers have gotten very used to big jumps in appreciation and think that that's kind of norm. Really, what's norm is 4.4%. If over the last 50 years, real estate, as a residential real estate, has appreciated 4.4% a year for the last 50 plus years. And so seeing us move back into that 3% range, I mean, it's a little bit lower than the historical norm, but I can see where those numbers are coming from. And it makes a lot of sense for us on there. You know, so with Zillow, we expect to see home appreciation take a step back, but not plummet.
Good news.
Same thing that we're just saying on there. Election time. So what happens after the last 11 elections? What happened to home sales after the last 11 elections? Home sales went up after the last 11 elections. What happened to pricing after the last 11 elections? Well, 7 of the last 8, it went up. How about interest rates? Mortgage rates decreased in 8 of the last, or leading up to the election in 8 of the last 11. And so do I feel like these are gonna be factors that are really gonna come into a play for us later this year? I think that we're looking at, it's already a good environment for the Fed to drop the federal funds rate. And we always see interest rates, I mean, historically, we see interest rates come down around prior to election time. I think this could be a very, very interesting fall for us. Whereas our normal sales curve looks trending up, peaking somewhere in the summer, and then starts to taper off. We see interest rates really start dropping. We're gonna see this really weird kind of flattening out of our summer sales period, which really should help to make up for some of the sales that we haven't had earlier in the year. But if we do see interest rates drop, what's gonna happen to pricing? What's gonna happen to competition? Like we see interest rates come down. Everything we've talked about is if interest rates stay steady. We see interest rates come down, what's gonna happen to pricing probably? Probably gonna go up more than that. And competition is gonna go up, that kind of stuff. The availability of homes is gonna go down. So it's a pretty big wild card for us to be looking at. The other thing I want to talk to you about is please consider avoiding politics. You know, for years, when we go through this, every election cycle, I have someone that loses a client, loses a friend, that kind of stuff over their own personal political leanings and their clients. And I'm not saying it should be that way. I'm just saying it is. And I hate that we have to be that way. And look, it's your business. You can run your business how you want to. If you want to go out and be really political with it, just understand that you run the risk of losing half of your clients. But I mean, right now, we're pretty evenly divided between Republican and Democrat, between conservative and liberal. Like it's pretty even in there. And so if you're using things like social media to build business and that kind of stuff, and then you want to go on there and be real political with it, it could come back to bite you. And it's just one of those things that breaks my heart every election cycle, because every single one for like the last 16 to 20 years, someone loses a client, someone loses a deal, something like that kind of thing. And we see it, you know, we right now, we just had a buyer last week that wouldn't go into a house because they had a political sign in the front yard. Well,
Wow.
well, it's true. And so you know, I wish that we had the ability to have political discourse without it being a real personal thing, but it isn't. So just be careful what you do and be prepared for that, as far as that goes. All right, I want to talk about the top 20%. Because the top 20%, this is where, in our market especially, 20% of agents do 80% of the business. Right? And we see this, and we know that there are a lot of part-timers in our industry, that kind of stuff. But I went in and basically broke apart, analyzed, and looked at like what are the factors that delineate the difference between an agent versus a top producer? A 20%, one of the 20% folks. And so I broke it down. The very first thing is, even before we talk about those 5, it's going to be, are you coming from a mindset of scarcity? Or are you coming from a mindset of abundance? Right? So if your glass is always half empty, it's going to be like I can't fix this for you. A lot of times, if you will watch the news, you can get pretty down. You can be like, the economy stinks.
You get real depressed.
You can get depressed, you know, like everything's going bad, and, you know, there's no point. Why do I bother? Should I even make my phone call? Should I even reach out? Is there any point? And it really does start with that mindset, because if your mind is wrong, your business is going to be wrong, right? You can't get around that if you're coming from a place where this is like I got a boy, and he sometimes in the mornings is a grunt. And if he wakes up and same thing for all of us, if we wake up and say, today's gonna stink, guess what? It always does.
Yeah.
And if you wake up and you say, you know what, today's gonna be a great day. It may not necessarily be a great day, but it's gonna be a lot better than if you go into it saying, this is gonna be a terrible day. And so we have to start off making sure our mindset is right. After that, what's your schedule? And what about your skills? Right? So for our top producers, first thing they have is a schedule, a routine. They don't roll over and say, what am I gonna do today? They don't. They have this is, you know, they treat their business like a business. And so like if you had a brick and mortar store, you would have hours of operation. You would have things that people would need to be getting done. Same exact thing for our top producers. So they have a schedule. They all make phone calls, whether it's prospecting, lead follow-up, lead nurturing. You have to make phone calls. You have to engage with clients. All your top producers, the vast majority of your top producers have a target client or 2. They know who they're trying to reach out to. They know who they're trying to appeal to. And then they have some form of a business plan for what they're going to, how their business is going to be structured. The other thing that goes into that is top producers really look at skills. Like one of the great things about most of the top producers, most of the 20%ers tend to have been in the business for a little bit of time. And with that comes, these are folks who take CE classes. They educate themselves, you know, that they're working on, you know what, I just met with this client and it didn't do well. So they go and they role play and they work on the different conversations. They handle objections. They work on their communication. These are all business skills that we all need to have. And our top producers are all doing that, whether it's negotiating, those kind of things, it's all really, really important. But this is a very business approach to it, right? If you're an agent and all you want to do is sell a house, that's completely different than being a 20%. With being a 20%er, like it starts off with that schedule, you know, and going in there. The other thing is that they have all of our 20%ers have good market knowledge. They know what's going on in the market, right? And so local trends, you know, they know what's happening on the economy, that kind of stuff. So Watch our real estate backstory on Mondays. I know we didn't do it last week. I'm with you, that kind of stuff. But coming to the sales meetings, digging into your MLSs, you can also find a ton of information on NAR. BAM has some really good resources out there. CoreLogic, Atom. There's a ton of places where we can go to get, to stay up on our market. Like even today, we're talking about what's happening with inventory, how inventory is rising. Like knowing that is so powerful for you. Because it's gonna help you be a lot more engaging in there. Third thing, top producers have networks. I'm sorry? Oh.
You're not gonna make me share it.
Well, if you are, yeah, absolutely, share. I'm not putting you on the spot at all. Yeah, I'm even slightly. All right, I'll let you off. All right, but top producers have a network. And so it starts off with your client database. Top producers have folks that they're reaching out to, that they're engaging with. And then in addition to that, they have a list of contractors, other agents, resources for, all the whole 9 yards. Like they know the builders, like having these networks is invaluable. Because so much of your business ends up working through and from those. And so again, top producers have really, really strong networks. And if you don't, work on building that. Third is that they have repeat and referral business. Look, I don't hate Zillow leads necessarily, but if you work a Zillow lead, then you have to always work Zillow lead. And you always have to give out a lot of money to Zillow or these other things when you work cold leads, when you work off referral, when you work your existing clients, when you can spend your days engaging with your friends and past clients. That's a really, really great thing to do. And so the top 20% all have really, really solid referral and repeat clients. That's where they get the vast majority of their business. So consider implementing, if you haven't put in place like the top 50 system that we've been trying to promote and teach, please come in and be part of that, we do this every Monday as part of our accountability, but the whole idea is it's about building your referral business. I don't mind when other things come our way, and there's a lot of other things that you can use. But when you actually are working on your business from a referral point of view, it's a much healthier place to be. And that's what, and our 20%ers live off referral. And then last, they have marketing and brand awareness, meaning they're doing things to reach out and engage with folks. And so all of our top producers use a professional photographer. You don't see any stinking iPhone pictures on their listings. They have floor plans. They're either they are a stager, they are knowledgeable about staging, or they have resources to use in there. And then they have systems set up where like emails are going out from their system, text messages are going out from their system, print, all those kind of things. They have set up geofarms. All these are things that top producers are doing. And so what I want you to, or what I encourage you to do is look at where is my business. We'll send these out to anyone who wants it in here kind of thing. If you want to look at this list, I have no problem with it. But going back and referring to your list as far as like, where am I on my skills and my schedule? Go through this and use this as a checklist on your own business, because being in that 20% area, it's a really, really great place to be, right? That's where 20% of our agents do 80% of the business. Everyone wants to be a 20%. But these are this is what consistently flows through the folks who are our 20%. And it's not just us, the entire industry, throughout our industry, this is what 20% agents do overall. And so if you'd like to be one, then emulate that. What doesn't happen is, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep doing what hasn't been working, and I'm just going to complain about it. Right? But that's what that's what we see happen a lot. And I'm not trying to bash anybody about it. I'm just saying, unfortunately, it's just kind of a real thing. So look at this, please steal it, that kind of stuff. We do accountability every Monday morning at 9:30. We go through the top 50 program. please consider coming in. Everyone loves accountability until I actually call on you to actually, right, Renita?
It's a whole different.
Oh, yeah, everybody thinks accountability is great, and then I'm like, have you made your phone calls? And they're like, yeah. So, like, please, we changed it where you can come in the office, or you can just zoom in from your phone, from your laptop, from the house. I don't make you turn your camera on, so if your hair's not did, I don't give you a hard time, but I do ask you to talk in there. And so you can go to max1.rock/accountability and join us in there as well. Or join us in the office. We'd love to have you in the office too, but like, whole idea here is like, the way we do it is we have backstory that starts off hopefully giving you some kind of market information, what's going on in the market, and then accountability starts at 9:30. And in there, we really go through about, okay, who's your target client? What are the 3 things you're gonna be doing to reach out and engage with your target clients? Have you identified your top 50? And really, to be your top 50, it needs to be 50 people that you like, think like you, and feel like they're gonna give you one referral over the next year. And then reaching out to them every single month in a personal way, not an email, not a text, like a personal engagement with them. That's what it really does come down to. And so these are our 20%ers, so these are our top producers for last month. And so we're gonna kind of wrap up with that. So thank you guys very much. I hope this was helpful. I hope you got some good information out of this. We're gonna switch to the local one right now. And thanks. So.